We always have people taking pictures everywhere. I normally walk the places for a long time. I'm a good walker, and that's the way I deal with cities, by walking. I normally don't take any car, or I don't take a cab, so I walk. And during my long walks, I am very alert to things that might click my imagination for some photos. And when I find the right motif, then I come back with my camera. So sometimes I feel that there is potential on a certain motif, and I have to see it 3 or 4 times before I come with my camera, and I say, yes, it might just be good. And then I have to, normally I keep in mind the hour of the time of the day I was there, in order to see if it's good. So we have a friend here. Hola. Fantastic dog. Hola. Hey. Hey. Okay, this one. I was walking I think it was 1993. I was in New York City. I had made a job for American Airlines, the company, and they offered me paying with a ticket, a plane ticket. So I said, oh, sure, let's do that. So I went to New York all by myself and spent 20 days there. The main thing I did was walk and see as much photography as I could. And I found this small security booth, and this booth was completely dirty. The windows were completely dirty, the glass was dirty, and there was some sunlight going in, and it produced a 3-way reflection because the light was crossing 3 different planes of glass. And I found this, and I thought it was fantastic, and I took the picture immediately. And it became one of my most beautiful pictures, actually. Actually, that one is just one. I remember that because I have the negative. It was not made on digital. It was an old 35mm camera, and I have that negative, and it's between many other photos that I made on that very same trip. So yes, I have just one shot that came out well. This is the first cover I made for ECM, and I sent the picture with a portfolio at the time, and I made some 1824 centimeter prints, and they sent them all together to Manfred, whom I did not know at the time. And I was very lucky, actually, because Dino Saluzzi had just recorded an album, and he was at the office when these pictures arrived, and they were thinking about which picture they were going to choose for the cover, and seemed to be that my pictures arrived just in time for that. So I received a fax. Remember the faxes before emails, where they said that they were interested in these pictures, and if I could take some pictures of Dino as well. So I met Dino then. I hadn't met him before. So when he came to my studio, and we did some portraying there, and we became very good friends. And this started with ECM. I had listened to Kultrum before we met, which is a fantastic album and an extremely intimate album. And when I received that fax asking me to meet him, I couldn't believe it, because he was already an idol for me, and I really liked the experience. But I've been listening to his music all my life, actually. And the problem with Dino is that you cannot listen it as background music, because he's so intense, he's so emotional. It's not like listening to maybe some kind of jazz trio that you can connect or maybe leave it behind. In the case of Dino, it's so emotional, so deep, that you have to be in the mood for that, because it's like listening to Schubert somehow. It goes directly to your heart. This picture, actually, it was a place in Sweden. It was a very interesting light, because this grass or these plants had a white part on it, kind of exploded a little bit. You know, it was an early digital camera, and being overexposed, it produced this feeling of softness. And I thought that was very poetic. And the title of the album is El Valle de la Infancia, which means the valley of childhood. So it brings up lots of memories, and I think this is very evocative, actually, and different from other pictures that we had used for Dino. being color, not black and white, because we had used more things like black and white images like this one. This was taken in Patagonia. It's a very mainstream landscape picture, but I think it's quite poetic as well. I lived in Patagonia when I was very little, but not at this part. This is really in the southern Patagonia. No, I lived in the valley of Rio Negro, which is a place where they grow apples and pears. But anyway, I've been traveling along Patagonia many times. I mainly find my motifs in urban spaces, but that's not mandatory. I may find something in nature as well. I get inspired by some places, and then yes, I don't care how long it takes. I used to carry it was not my iPod, but my Walkman at the time, and I was listening to music while walking, but then I discovered that that was not a good idea, because it confused me somehow, because you thought that pictures were much better than they were because of the music. So I decided not to use the music any longer and to just be connected with what was going on there. So no, I don't use music normally, but when I'm walking I do use it, but not for working at all. Of course I listen to ECM a lot, but I'm so hungry about music that I'm not, it's just not, ECM is not the only dish in my menu. I'm very curious. I cannot listen only to acoustic music. I listen a lot to classical, and I listen a lot to electronic music or whatever. Really, I'm extremely hungry about music. I'm curious. I like subdued light, and I like to work with closed f-stops so that I have focus everywhere. So yes, I normally travel with my tripod and I carry it all along. Unfortunately, because it's really a nuisance. The one I travel with is a very small one that is quite practical, but anyway, it's much better to shoot without a tripod. But it's one of the prices you have to pay to have good quality. Photography is always about compromise. You have to make choices, and when you make a choice, you're having something, but you're leaving something up. You are deciding on a certain composition, for example, and then you are the owner of what's going on inside that square. So it has to have some kind of intention to say what goes in the square and what is out of the square. This kind of arbitrary decision that you make is what gives the picture its power. I want to be intentional about what I'm doing from the very beginning. But once I have the picture, I possibly take 2 or 3 so that one of them is really sharp. That's what I do. But I'm not experimenting all around, like trying different lenses or different points of view. I decide very fast about it. I believe that some pictures must be taken in black and white and others must be taken in color. And normally what you take in black and white doesn't work in color, and vice versa. That's important. Photos have to be somehow mysterious. That's what you would call that they are telling a story, that you're not very sure about what you're seeing, but that you get somehow trapped into that situation and you want to keep on looking at it. Like you're enjoying the composition, but as well trying to understand what's going on. I would come here with my dogs. I have 2 dogs, and I would definitely bring them here if I lived in Munich.